The impossible gambit. The morning sun cast long shadows across the mining platforms of Kepler 442b as Governor James Mitchell stood on his office balcony, watching the daily routine of 300,000 colonists going about their lives. Children walked to schools built from locally quarried stone. Farmers tended to hydroponic gardens that fed the growing population. And miners prepared for another day, extracting rare minerals from the planet's rich deposits. It was a peaceful scene that had taken 20 years to build from nothing but hope and determination. Mitchell had been one of the original colonists, arriving as a young engineer when Kepler 442b was nothing more than coordinates on a star chart, and a dream of humanity's expansion beyond Earth. Now, at 55, he served as the elected governor of a thriving world that supplied essential materials to dozens of other human colonies. The settlement had grown from a few prefab shelters to a proper city with tree-lined streets, parks where families gathered on weekends, and a university that attracted students from across human space. That the tranquil morning was shattered when his aide, Jennifer Park, burst through the office doors with a face pale as winter frost. "Governor Mitchell, we're receiving an emergency broadcast from the outer system sensors." Mitchell turned from the balcony, immediately sensing the gravity in her voice. "What kind of emergency?" Jennifer activated the wall display, showing a tactical readout of the Kepler 442 system. At the edge of sensor range, hundreds of red dots appeared like angry stars against the black of space. "Unknown vessels, sir. The computer estimates over 500 ships approaching our system." The blood drained from Mitchell's face as he stared at the massive fleet bearing down on their peaceful world. In 20 years of colonial life, they had never faced anything more threatening than asteroid mining accidents or equipment failures. Their small defense force consisted of 6 patrol ships designed to handle pirates or smugglers, not an invasion fleet that could conquer entire star systems. "How long until they arrive?" Mitchell asked, his voice steady despite the fear growing in his chest. "At current velocity, approximately 18 hours, sir." As if responding to their conversation, the communication system chimed with an incoming transmission. The main display flickered and changed to show the bridge of an alien warship. The creature that appeared was unlike anything in human databases. Tall and imposing with metallic silver, skin that seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury. Its eyes were deep black voids that held no warmth or compassion, and when it spoke, its voice carried the weight of absolute authority. "I am Admiral Kethfor of the Vorthik Empire," the alien announced. "You inhabit a world that lies within territory claimed by our empire. You have 72 hours to evacuate your planet completely or face total annihilation. No negotiations will be accepted. No mercy will be shown to those who resist." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving Mitchell staring at a blank screen. Around him, his staff stood in shocked silence, processing the impossible ultimatum they had just received. 72 hours to evacuate 300,000 people from the only home most of them had ever known. "Sir," Jennifer said quietly, "even if we had enough transport ships, which we don't, we couldn't evacuate everyone in 3 days." Mitchell closed his eyes, feeling the weight of 300,000 lives pressing down on his shoulders. He thought of the children in the schools, the elderly residents who had spent their retirement years helping build this world, the young, families who had invested everything in making Kepler 442b their home. They deserved better than to die, because some alien empire decided their world belonged to them. "Send an emergency beacon to Earth Command," Mitchell ordered. "Full priority. Tell them we need immediate military assistance." "Sir," said his communication officer, "the beacon will take 3 days to reach Earth, and even if they send help immediately, it would take at least a week for any fleet to arrive here." Mitchell nodded grimly. They were on their own, 3,000 light years away, Captain Elena Rodriguez stood in the laboratory section of her ship, watching Dr. Marcus Chun make final adjustments to the most advanced piece of technology humanity had ever created. The UCS Prometheus was officially classified as an experimental research vessel, but Rodriguez knew it was much more than that. It was humanity's attempt to level the playing field in a galaxy where other species had thousands of years of technological advancement. "How are the phase distortion generators holding up, Marcus?" Rodriguez asked, studying the readings on the main console. Dr. Chun looked up from his work, pushing his glasses up his nose in a gesture Rodriguez had seen him make thousands of times over their 3-year partnership. At 38, Chun was considered one of the brightest minds in human space, a theoretical physicist who had somehow managed to turn impossible mathematical concepts into working technology. "The generators are operating within acceptable parameters," Chun replied, "but Captain, I have to stress again that we've never tested this system in actual combat conditions. The phase distortion field allows us to shift partially out of normal space-time, making us nearly impossible to target, but we don't know how it will react to sustained enemy fire." Rodriguez nodded, understanding the risks. The Prometheus was equipped with technology that could potentially revolutionize space warfare, but it was all theoretical until tested under real conditions. They had been conducting deep space trials for 6 months, pushing the experimental systems to their limits in preparation for eventual deployment with the human fleet. Lieutenant Sarah Knox, the ship's tactical officer, looked up from her station. "Captain, we're receiving an emergency beacon from the Kepler 442 system." Rodriguez felt her heart skip a beat. Emergency beacons were only used in the most desperate situations, when entire worlds faced extinction. "Put it through, Sarah." "Governor." Mitchell's recorded message filled the bridge, his voice carrying the weight of desperation and determination that Rodriguez recognized in the voices of all colonial leaders who had to make impossible decisions. When the message ended, the bridge fell silent except for the steady hum of the ship's systems. "Captain," said Chief Engineer Tommy O'Brien in his thick Irish accent, "Kepler 442b is only 16 hours away at maximum phase drive velocity." Rodriguez stared at the star charts displayed on the main screen. 16 hours to reach a world under siege by over 500 alien ships. The rational decision would be to send word to Earth Command and wait for proper military support. But 300,000 people didn't have time for rational decisions. "Marcus," Rodriguez said quietly, "what are our chances if we engage a fleet that size?" Chun removed his glasses and cleaned them slowly, a sure sign he was processing complex calculations in his head. "Captain, with conventional weapons and tactics, our chances would be effectively 0. But with the phase distortion system and the new quantum device RUPTORS ... double quotes, he paused, looking directly at his captain. "We might be able to do something that's never been attempted before." Rodriguez looked around her bridge at the crew she had handpicked for this experimental mission. Sarah Knox, barely 25 but already recognized as one of the fleet's most brilliant tactical minds. Tommy O'Brien, who could keep any ship running with spare parts and pure stubbornness. Dr. Chun, whose revolutionary technology might just give humanity its first real advantage against more advanced alien species. "What kind of something?" Rodriguez asked. Chun activated the tactical display, showing theoretical attack patterns and probability matrices. "If we can use the phase distortion system to avoid their weapons while targeting their command structure with quantum disruptors, we might be able to cause enough confusion to force their withdrawal." Sarah leaned forward in her chair. "Captain, with respect, we're talking about 1 ship against 500. Even with our experimental technology, the odds are..." "Impossible," Rodriguez finished. "But that's what humans do best, isn't it? We face impossible odds and find a way to win anyway." The bridge crew exchanged glances, understanding passing between them without words. They had all volunteered for this experimental mission, knowing it would be dangerous. They had all signed up to test technology that might fail catastrophically. But more than that, they had all sworn an oath to protect human colonies from exactly this kind of threat. "Tommy," Rodriguez said, "I need maximum power to the phase drive. Get us to Kepler 442b as fast as this ship can go." "Aye, Captain," O'Brien replied with a grin that suggested he relished the challenge. "I'll give you more speed than the designers thought possible. Sarah, I want you to study everything we know about Vorthic military tactics. Find their weaknesses." "Yes, ma'am." "Marcus, I need those experimental systems operating at peak efficiency. Lives depend on your technology, working exactly as designed." Dr. Chun nodded solemnly. "I won't let them down, Captain." Rodriguez settled into her command chair as the Prometheus turned toward KEPLER 442b and began to accelerate beyond safe operational limits. She knew they were flying toward almost certain death, but she also knew that sometimes one ship with the right crew and the right technology could change the course of history. 16 hours later, the Prometheus dropped out of phase drive at the edge of the Kepler 442 system. What they saw made even the experienced crew fall silent in awe and terror. The Vorthic fleet hung in space like a metallic storm cloud. Over 500 ships arranged in perfect formation around the small blue-green world that 300,000 humans called home. Each Vorthic vessel was a work of deadly art, their hulls flowing with the same liquid mercury appearance as their crews. The smallest ships were larger than human battleships, and the largest were mobile cities capable of carrying entire armies. Energy readings showed weapons that could crack continents and shields that could withstand the focused fire of entire fleets. "Captain," Sarah reported, her voice tight with controlled fear, "I count 547 Vorthic vessels, 23 dreadnoughts, over 200 cruisers, and the rest are destroyers and fighters." Rodriguez studied the tactical display, noting the enemy formation. They were arranged for maximum intimidation rather than tactical efficiency, clearly confident that no force in the galaxy would be foolish enough to challenge such overwhelming power. "Open a channel to the lead ship," Rodriguez ordered. "Captain, are you sure that's wise?" Sarah asked. Sometimes the best way to start a fight is by talking first. The main screen flickered and showed the bridge of the Vorthic flagship. Admiral Kethver appeared, his liquid metal features showing mild curiosity rather than concern. Behind him, Rodriguez could see dozens of alien officers working at stations that pulsed with energy patterns, unlike anything in human technology. "I am Admiral Kethver of the Vorthic Empire," the alien said in a voice like grinding metal. "You command the human vessel that approaches our conquest fleet?" "I do," Rodriguez replied calmly. "Captain Elena Rodriguez of the United Colonial Ship Prometheus. I understand you've made some demands of the people on Kepler 442b. Kethver's features shifted into what might have been amusement. "Demands? I have offered them the honor of survival through evacuation. Look around you, human. 547 ships of the Vorthic Empire surround this world. You bring one vessel. Surely even your species possesses enough intelligence to recognize the futility of resistance." Rodriguez smiled, the kind of smile that had gotten her into trouble throughout her career, but had also gotten her out of more dangerous situations than she could count. "Actually, Admiral, I'm here to discuss the terms of your surrender." Alien bridge fell completely silent. Kethvar's liquid metal features froze in what Rodriguez assumed was shock. Behind him, other Vorthic officers turned to stare at the human captain, as if she had spoken in an unknown language. "Surrender?" Kethver finally managed. "Human, your single ship faces the might of the Vorthic Empire. We have conquered 67 worlds across this galaxy. What possible reason would we have to surrender to you? Rodriguez activated her tactical display, showing detailed scans of the Vorthic fleet. Because, Admiral, you're about to learn why humans are different from every other species you've conquered. We don't just fight with superior numbers or advanced technology. We fight with ingenuity, determination, and the absolute refusal to surrender when protecting innocent lives. She paused, letting her words sink in before continuing. I'm going to give you one chance to withdraw your fleet peacefully. If you refuse, I'll be forced to demonstrate why one human ship can be more dangerous than an entire alien armada. Kethver stared at Rodriguez for a long moment, his alien features impossible to read. Finally, he spoke. You are either insane or you possess weapons beyond our understanding. Which is it, human? Rodriguez's smile widened. I suppose we're about to find out. The technology that changed everything, the communication channel closed, leaving Captain Rodriguez staring at her tactical display where 547 hostile ships surrounded a world full of innocent people. The silence on the Prometheus bridge was broken, only by the steady hum of experimental systems charging to full power. Rodriguez knew that in the next few hours, they would either save 300,000 lives or join them in death. Marcus, Rodriguez said quietly, activate the phase distortion system. Full power. Dr. Chun's hands moved across his console with practiced precision. Phase generators online, Captain. We're shifting into quantum flux state ... now. The Prometheus seemed to shimmer and blur on the edges as Chun's revolutionary technology took effect. The ship remained visible, but appeared somehow less solid, as if it existed partially in another dimension. Energy readings fluctuated wildly as the vessel began to phase in and out of normal spacetime, at frequencies too rapid for most sensors to track accurately. Tommy, Rodriguez called to her chief engineer, how are our systems holding up? O'Brien's voice carried his characteristic confidence despite the impossible situation. All systems green, Captain. The phase generators are drawing massive power, but I've got backup systems ready if needed. Just remember, we've never tested this technology under combat conditions. Lieutenant Knox looked up from her tactical station, her young face showing the strain of analyzing an enemy force that outnumbered them hundreds to one. Captain, I've identified what appears to be the Vorthic command structure. Their fleet is organized around 7 command dreadnoughts, with the flagship at the center. If we could disrupt their coordination, that's exactly what we're going to do, Rodriguez confirmed. Sarah, plot an attack course through the center of their formation. Target the command ships first. Ma'am, with respect, even with our phase distortion system, flying through that entire fleet seems like suicide. Rodriguez turned to look at her tactical officer, seeing the same fear and determination she felt herself. Sarah, do you know why? Humans have spread across the galaxy faster than any other species? Knox shook her head. Because when faced with the impossible, we don't calculate the odds. We find a way to change them. Rodriguez settled into her command chair. Begin the attack run. The Prometheus accelerated toward the massive Vorthic fleet, its phase distortion system creating a ripple effect in space around the ship. To outside observers, it appeared as if the human vessel was flickering in and out of existence, making it nearly impossible to target with conventional weapons. Admiral Kethvar watched from his flagship as the single human ship approached his mighty armada. His liquid metal features shifted into patterns that indicated confusion and growing concern. In 67 conquered worlds, no enemy had ever behaved this way. They either surrendered immediately when faced with overwhelming force, or they threw everything they had into desperate defensive battles. None had ever taken a single ship and attacked an entire fleet. Weapons officer, Kethver commanded. Target that vessel and destroy it. The response was immediate. Hundreds of Vorthik ships opened fire simultaneously, filling the space around the Prometheus with enough energy to vaporize a small moon. Plasma bolts, particle beams, and exotic matter torpedoes converged on the human ship's position, creating a display of destructive power that lit up the entire system. But something impossible happened. The weapons seemed to pass through the Prometheus without causing damage, as if the ship existed in a slightly different dimension where the laws of physics operated differently. The human vessel continued its attack run, untouched by the devastating barrage. "Report," Kethver demanded. His weapons officer, a veteran of dozens of conquests, stared at his instruments in disbelief. "Admiral, our targeting systems cannot achieve a weapons lock. The human ship appears to be shifting between dimensional phases at frequencies that make accurate targeting impossible." On the Prometheus bridge, Dr. Chun monitored his revolutionary technology with growing excitement. "Captain, the phase distortion system is working perfectly. We're existing in a quantum flux state that puts us slightly out of phase with normal spacetime. Their weapons are firing at where we were, not where we are." Rodriguez felt a surge of pride in her brilliant science officer. Chun had spent 3 years developing technology that seemed impossible, and now it was saving their lives, and potentially the lives of 300,000 colonists. "Excellent work, Marcus. Sarah, begin targeting their command vessels." The Prometheus reached the outer edge of the Vorthik formation and began its deadly dance through the enemy fleet. Unlike the aliens' weapons, the ship's quantum disruptors were specifically designed to work with the phase distortion system, allowing them to target enemy vessels even while phased. Knox's hands moved across her tactical controls with deadly precision. Quantum disruptors locked onto the first command ship, firing. The exotic weapons reached out from the partially phased human ship, invisible beams that didn't destroy their targets, but instead caused catastrophic cascade failures in the alien vessel's electronic systems. The first Vorthik dreadnought went dark as its computers crashed, its weapons powered down, and its engines shut off completely. "Direct hit on the command vessel," Knox reported. "Their ship is completely disabled." Rodriguez watched as the massive alien warship began to drift, powerless and helpless. The quantum disruptors didn't kill the crew or destroy the ship, but they rendered it completely inoperative by causing failures in all electronic systems. It was a uniquely human solution: disable rather than destroy, minimize casualties while achieving tactical objectives. "Target the next command ship," Rodriguez ordered. The Prometheus continued its impossible attack run, weaving between Vorthik vessels that fired desperately at a target they couldn't properly see or hit. One by one, the alien command ships went dark as quantum disruptors found their marks. Each disabled vessel created more confusion in the enemy formation as ships lost contact with their commanders. Admiral Kethver felt something he had never experienced in his long military career: fear. His mighty fleet was being systematically dismantled by a single enemy vessel using technology he didn't understand. Worse, the human ship seemed to be targeting the most critical vessels in his formation with surgical precision. "How many command ships have we lost?" he demanded. 4 of 7, Admiral," his tactical officer reported. "The human vessel is approaching our position." Kethver stared at the main display, watching the strange flickering ship that danced through his fleet like a ghost. The humans had developed something revolutionary, something that changed the fundamental rules of space combat. For the first time in his career, he was facing an enemy that couldn't be defeated through superior numbers or firepower. "Admiral," his communication officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the human ship. Put it through." Captain Rodriguez appeared on the screen, her calm demeanor a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding both ships. Behind her, Kethva could see her crew working efficiently at their stations. showing no signs of panic despite being outnumbered hundreds to one. "Admiral Kethvar," Rodriguez said pleasantly, "I hope you're beginning to understand why I was confident in requesting your surrender." Kethvar's liquid metal features shifted into patterns of rage and frustration. "What manner of technology are you using, human? Your weapons, your defenses, they operate outside our understanding of physics." Rodriguez smiled. "That's what makes humans different, Admiral. When we encounter a problem we can't solve with existing technology, we invent new technology. When we face impossible odds, we find ways to make them possible." The Prometheus continued its deadly dance through the Vorthic fleet, and another command ship went dark under the assault of quantum disruptors. The alien formation was beginning to collapse as ships lost coordination and began operating independently. "You have two choices," Rodriguez continued. "You can order your remaining ships to withdraw from this system and never threaten human colonies again. Or I can continue demonstrating why one innovative human ship is worth more than an entire conventional fleet." Dr. Chun looked up from his instruments with concern. "Captain, the phase generators are running at 150% of rated capacity. I'm not sure how much longer we can maintain this level of performance." Rodriguez nodded, understanding the time pressure. The experimental technology that was keeping them alive had limits, and they were pushing those limits to the breaking point. "How long do we have?" "Maybe 30 minutes before we risk catastrophic system failure." That was enough time to finish the job. Rodriguez turned back to the communication channel with Admiral Kethvar. "I need your answer now, Admiral. Will you withdraw, or do I need to disable the rest of your command ships?" The alien commander stared at Rodriguez for a long moment, his features shifting through patterns that might have indicated deep thought. Around his flagship, the remains of his once mighty armada struggled to coordinate their attacks against an enemy they couldn't properly target or understand. "Human," Kethvar said slowly, "in 67 conquered worlds, we have never encountered a species like yours. Most surrender when faced with overwhelming force. Others fight desperately with conventional tactics and are easily defeated. But you ... you changed the rules of engagement itself." Rodriguez waited patiently, knowing that the alien admiral was coming to terms with a new reality. The Vorthic Empire had built its power on the assumption that superior numbers and advanced technology would always prevail. But humanity had just proven that innovation and determination could overcome even the most overwhelming odds. "Very well," Kethvar said finally. "The Vorthic Empire will withdraw from this system. But understand this, Captain Rodriguez, we will not underestimate your species again." "I wouldn't expect you to," Rodriguez replied. "But I hope you'll also understand that humanity is not interested in conquest or domination. We just want to live in peace and defend our colonies when necessary." The communication channel closed, and Rodriguez watched as the massive Vorthok fleet began to withdraw from Kepler 442b. Ships that had seemed invincible just hours earlier now fled from a single human vessel that had proven technology and tactics could overcome any numerical disadvantage. "Sarah," Rodriguez called to her tactical officer, "stand down from combat alert. Tommy, begin powering down the phase generators before we overload them." As the experimental systems began their shutdown sequence, the Prometheus became fully solid again, no longer flickering between dimensions. The ship had survived its first combat test and proved that human ingenuity could overcome seemingly impossible odds. "Captain," Dr. Chun said with exhaustion and pride in his voice, "we did it." The phase distortion system worked exactly as designed, and the quantum disruptors were incredibly effective against their command and control systems. Rodriguez looked around her bridge at the crew that had just accomplished the impossible. They had faced down an entire alien armada with nothing but experimental technology and pure determination. More importantly, they had saved 300,000 innocent lives and sent a message to the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. The communication system chimed with an incoming transmission from Kepler 442b. Governor Mitchell appeared on the screen, his face showing relief, gratitude, and amazement in equal measure. "Captain Rodriguez," Mitchell said, "I don't know how to thank you. When we saw your single ship approaching that massive fleet, we thought you were either insane or suicidal." Rodriguez laughed, feeling the tension of the past few hours finally beginning to fade. "Maybe a little of both, Governor. But that's what humans do when innocent lives are at stake." "Captain," Mitchell continued, "what you've accomplished here today will be remembered throughout human space. One ship against 500, and you sent them running. How is that even possible?" Dr. Chun leaned forward in his chair. "Governor, we've developed technology that allows us to phase partially out of normal spacetime, making us nearly impossible to target while still being able to engage enemy vessels. Combined with quantum disruptors that can disable ships without destroying them, we are able to systematically dismantle their command structure." Rodriguez stood and walked to the main view screen, looking down at the blue-green world that was, now safe from alien conquest. "But the real answer, Governor, is that humans refuse to accept impossible odds. When faced with overwhelming force, we don't surrender or despair. We innovate, we adapt, and we find ways to turn our supposed weaknesses into strengths." As the Prometheus began its journey back to human space, carrying news of humanity's first major victory against a technologically superior alien empire, Rodriguez reflected on what they had accomplished. They had proven that human ingenuity could overcome any challenge. That determination and innovation were worth more than superior numbers or advanced weapons. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again. And somewhere in the depths of space, other alien empires would hear the story of how one human ship had defeated an entire fleet, and they would wonder what other surprises the upstart species from Earth might have in store. The age of human expansion had truly begun, and it would be built not on conquest or domination, but on the uniquely human ability to achieve the impossible when it mattered most. Asterisk.